Let's do this thing, eh? Let's do it. I just want to be really clear up front with my goal for each of you. My goal for each of you, not just for this sermon, not just for tonight, not just for this series, but for you and your life. I know that's big, but I want, and every adult in this room, you guys can take a seat if you'd like. Adults, if you want to grab a beanbag or grab a couch or something like that. I want, and every single adult in this room wants to pour our lives into yours. We want to point you with everything we've got to Jesus. We want to see you become resilient disciples of Jesus. Resilient. Has anyone ever heard that word? Resilient. Can someone tell me what resilient means? What you got, Craig?
Persistent.
Persistent. Keep going. What are some other adjectives? Adjectives? What am I saying? Synonyms. Consistent. Persistent. What else? Resilient. Strong. Strong. Grit. Seriously, grit. Exactly. That's what it is.
Durable.
Durable. What else? Strong. Or you could put strong, right? S-K-R-A-W-N-G. Strong. I want you to be strong, okay? I want you to be strong, resilient, tough. That's the goal. I want you to be tough. I want you to be firm in what you believe and not easily swayed. The truth is, the culture that you find yourself in is bombarding you daily with false and misleading information. It is so sneaky. Okay, so
a few minutes later,
as I was saying, I just had to get that in there. That was really fun. I love doing things like that. But the culture that you find yourself in is sneaky. Okay? It is bombarding you daily with information that is not in line with the truth of Jesus. And it's so sneaky. There's no mustache-twirling villain at any point that is like, I'm going to trick you now and I'm going to make you believe bad things. Right? At no point did an Instagram overlord pop up and say, I'm going to put all kinds of images of other young ladies that make you feel really bad about yourself for the next 10 years. Right? That's never happened. But somehow it's happened. Right? Somehow you see other young ladies that make you feel bad about yourself. It's really sneaky. Okay? The truth is that Jesus' plan for you and your life, every aspect of your life is good. And it's for your joy, including your romantic relationships. That's the truth. And the culture you find yourself in is sneaky and does not want you to believe that. And so we want to talk about this stuff because we want you to be founded in things that are good, that are true, that are right, and that lead to your joy in the long run. So at the end of the day, yes, this series is about dating and relationship, but really what it's about is you being a tough, resilient follower of Jesus who isn't easily swayed by the various opinions that are swirling around you, but is someone who is focused, who is determined, eyes locked on Jesus, following him into the plans for you that are for your joy and for his glory. That's the truth, okay? And this is the truth that we want you to leave here with tonight. Staying close to Jesus makes every relationship better, okay? It doesn't matter what relationship it is, staying close to Jesus makes every relationship better. That said, I want to pray over you as we get into this series because I love you and I want this to be a deeply meaningful, useful, and life-giving series to you. Okay? I want the next few weeks to be really good. So let me pray and we're going to jump into studying tonight. Jesus, I pray over each and every teenager in this room, and I pray that you would bless them richly and deeply. I pray, Lord, that they would be founded in you. Lord, their anchor would be down deep in you. Lord, I pray that you would be founded in them, that they, Lord, we could find your spirit in the depths, the basement of their heart. Father, I pray that these young disciples of Jesus and and those who are here who are curious about Jesus or who aren't sure, Lord, I pray that these young men and women would be founded, rooted in you. I pray that they want to find their identity in relationships other than their relationship with you. So bless our time together tonight. We love you. Amen. Okay, like I said, today we are starting a 3-week series about dating, sex, and relationship. Okay, a few days ago, what day? Was it Monday maybe? I think Monday I put out on fcc.students, our Instagram, I put out some stories, some little surveys, and I wanted to show you, I wanted to talk through the results. Okay, so I said, help us out. We've got a series of questions we want your feedback on for this Wednesday. That's right now. Have you ever dated someone? 76% said yes, 24% said no. Are you dating someone now? 56% said yes, 44% said no. Okay, and I just literally threw this on there all willy-nilly, and so it looks really fancy, right? I'm a good graphic designer. So at what age were you, typos, were you allowed to have your first boyfriend or girlfriend? And so I just threw them up there. We got 14 not available, meaning like, yeah, I didn't, there was no restriction. 13, 17, 16, 13, 16, 11, 16, 14, 14, 13, 16, not available, and 14. Okay, pretty interesting. Seems 13 is pretty consistent. Seems like 14-ish or high school. Like a lot happens at 16, right? Driving, sometimes cell phones, sometimes car. Interesting stuff. Okay, go to the next one. Help us out. What's a good age for a person to start dating? It's interesting how these are different. And it's interesting how has dating made your life better or worse? While our parents might let us date earlier, most people said later and then said it still made their life better. Interesting. I don't know. A lot of 18s, a lot of 17s, 16s, a lot of people just simply saying high school. So a lot of people, though, said dating, at the end of the day, has made their life better. Only 17% saying worse. And this last question is, what's your favorite on-screen romance and why? Jim and Pam were a lot of people, which I agree, that's what I said as well. Ben and Leslie, and April and Andy from Parks and Rec. Both of those relationships are very fun in a different way. And I do not understand the B-movie reference. I've never seen the B-movie. Probably will never see the B-movie. Oh man. Did I just shoot the sacred cow? Just kidding. Okay. So, I want to talk through this last one. Okay? I want to talk through this last one. What is your favorite on-screen romance?
A few minutes later.
I think it could be appropriate for us to say that those couples were meant to be, right? They were meant to be. That's the name of our series. They were meant to be. That's how all of our favorite movies and songs and books talk about love, right? It's as if the secret to an amazing relationship is a little bit of destiny, a whole bunch of feelings, and a tiny little sprinkle of magic. But you can't exactly use those relationships as models for your own, can you? It's hard. It's really hard because it's so unrealistic. If we took those movies or TV shows literally, we'd have to do some pretty crazy things in order to get a date or fall in love, right? What unrealistic dating advice do those movies give us? What do we learn from those movies about how to fall in love or get a date? Yeah, you just confess your love in the middle of a school hallway, in the middle of this like epic moment. You know, you do it, and everyone, no one makes fun of you. What else? It always works out, right? If you're destined to be together, it doesn't matter what awful thing you do, you're going to stay together. All right, what else? What unrealistic dating advice? Yes.
You don't take your chance, and then some like sad song plays. You drive to their like college or wherever they are, and then confess your love. You fall in love, and you're together forever.
Yep, that's good. Yeah.
Okay, so you girls may know this, but to all the boys I loved before, the part 2 came out today, and I just want to say that was incredible. I haven't even seen it. The first movie was incredibly unrealistic because she brought all these no-sleep guys, and all of a sudden they faked it, and then she's like in love with her, like, and then he gives her
Or, ladies, if you wear glasses, right, you take off the glasses, and you shake, and all of a sudden it's like, I saw a really funny TikTok where she like took off the glasses, she like, no, I'm still ugly. It was awful, but it was really fun. Okay, so, last one. They actually like you back. Hey, listen, bring it back. Our favorite movies, they paint some unrealistic expectations of what love and dating is like in the real world. So it makes sense when we observe the not so perfect, real life relationships modeled to us by our friends, our parents, or maybe even our favorite celebrities that we might start to wonder, wait. I'm confused. Is that how relationships are meant to be? Are they supposed to look like that? Is divorce just an expectation going into marriage that one out of every two relationships will end in divorce? Is that normal? Is that okay? Is that how it's meant to be? There are three primary reasons I'd say why we want to talk about dating and relationships this month. Okay? Number one, dating is really complicated. It's really complicated. It can be easy to look at someone who is in a happy, healthy relationship and just think they were meant to be. That all the stars aligned and they're in a perfect relationship, but that's not what's going to happen with me. And so that's a complicated reality to navigate when you're a teenager. Maybe it's true that some people are meant to be, but it's also true that love is complicated. And dating is awkward and scary and can be really hard to navigate. Second is dating is hard to talk about. It seems like everyone has an opinion. You can ask advice from 100 different people and get 100 different pieces of advice that are all going different directions, and you're not sure what you should do. It's hard to talk about it. Number three, dating is confusing. You probably have some questions about dating, right? Raise your hand if you ever have had a question about dating, or if you have anything you're curious about right now. Yeah, dating is confusing. We all have questions about it. So I want us to spend some time talking about it. When I was your age, I had the same questions that you did. And it seems like every movie tells us that love is something you fall into, right? You just fall into it and then you cruise for the rest of your life. Like, if it's meant to be, you're just gonna know. Kind of like these ridiculously adorable couples that we're going to watch here in a second. This was probably like 40 years before any of you were born. All right, check it out.
I was sitting with my friend Arthur Cornwell in a restaurant. It was a Horn and Island cafeteria. And this beautiful girl walked in, and I turned to Arthur, and I said, Arthur, you see that girl? I'm going to marry her. And 2 weeks later, we were married. And it's over 50 years later, and we are still married.
We fell in love in high school.
Yeah, we were high school sweethearts.
But then after our junior year, his parents moved away.
But I never forgot her.
You never forgot me.
No, her face was burned on my grave. And it was 34 years later that I was walking down Broadway. I saw her come out of Tough and Eddie's.
We both looked at each other, and it was just as though not a single day had gone by.
She was just as beautiful as she was at 16.
He was just the same. He looked exactly the same.
We were married 40 years.
Turn it off. This
We were
one's
married
bad.
3 years, got a divorce. Then I married Margie.
Watch this one back.
Don't watch the rest. All right. You don't even know what it's called. Get it off the screen. No. All right. So, I think we would all agree that a relationship like those relationships we just heard about would be the goal, right? We all want to find someone we're madly in love with, that it just clicks, someone who sticks with us no matter what, and someone we can grow old with, start a family with. We want a partner, a friend. I said this last year, marriage is friendship on fire. Marriage is friendship on fire. When you boil it all down, marriage isn't about chemistry. It isn't about physical attraction, sex, any of that. It's friendship on fire. It's choosing day in and day out to be for the other person, to be selfless on their behalf, to keep showing up day after day after day after day, even when it's hard. We want that partnership. We want that friendship. But how do we find someone special like that? How will we know when we found them? And what do we do in the meantime before we're ready to really settle down? Looking back at middle school and high school for me, it honestly breaks my heart to know where I was when it came to dating and relationships. I was desperate to find fulfillment. I didn't have a healthy family situation or a good father figure around. I didn't have anyone guiding me through these conversations. So from 6th grade all the way to my senior year, I bounced from one girlfriend to the next. There was honestly in that 6 years, about 6 years, there was probably only a couple months total that I didn't have a girlfriend. In all of that time, was just constantly bouncing from one to the next. And there was, and even then in those few months, I was probably talking with someone at that time, right? You know that like didn't start with you guys, right? The texting constantly, the flirting, the weird half dating thing that like still happens. I think my age, I think cell phones might have started that, honestly. I got a flip phone in 8th grade. It's pretty awesome. But I think we started that, right? And I think I was like that because I didn't have a relationship with Jesus. I wasn't satisfied. I wasn't fulfilled. I had good friends, but at the core of who I was, at the very core of who I was lonely, and I tried to use those relationships to be satisfied. This resulted in a few things for me that I'm sure you're familiar with as well. And number one is when my relationship was going well, I was doing well too. When it wasn't going well, I was depressed, I was distracted, I was easily irritated with my family. I rode the ups and downs of my relationships in every area of my life. Number two, the sexual, physical aspects of these unhealthy relationships resulted in a lot of damaging and enslaving sin in my life. I wasn't a Christian and didn't even have a view of those things being sin or as something that was bad or against God. But that doesn't mean the consequences weren't the same. Just because someone doesn't feel guilty and view it as sin against God doesn't make it less damaging to their soul. Math is math. 2 + 2 will always be 4, whether you agree with it or not. And so the consequences on your soul, on your mental health, on your ability to thrive are the same. It doesn't matter if you believe in Jesus and his goals for your dating relationships or not. The consequences on your soul are always the same. And so I learned that. Number 3, I'd say, was these relationships damaged all the other more important relationships in my life. There was always some sort of tension with my family because of who I was dating or what our relationship looked like. It wasn't necessarily that my family was ever disapproving of those individuals, but it was just simply I wasn't present and I wasn't ever loving. I wasn't selfless or available or kind to my family. I would always choose my girlfriend over my family. I was really selfish. It created tension in my friendships, and most importantly, I would say, I never, throughout that time, heard Jesus' voice. There were different opportunities to hear his voice, I can look back now, but I was so focused on each and every one of those relationships, so consumed that I never gave myself space to actually hear his voice and grow. Looking back on my teenage years, there are definitely things that I regret about the way that I saw and handled relationships. I would have loved a dating instruction manual. Honestly, I would have loved this. I didn't start following Jesus until my senior year, and it would have been amazing. I don't even know if I would have followed, but it would have been amazing to have adults to look to even my parents who to have adults intimately involved in my life, like so many of you have. So many of you have amazing parents. And if you don't have amazing parents who are ready to step into your life and help you navigate your teenage years, you have us. You have the adults in this room who are ready to help you, who are ready to be alongside of you and walk through these things. And so I just kind of fumbled my way through those years and made a ton of mistakes that I really think so many of you can avoid. So unfortunately tonight I don't have any kind of dating instruction manual to give you. I wish I could tell you that God gave us one, honestly. But to be honest, the Bible doesn't really give any specific dating advice because, well, dating is like a new thing. Dating wasn't really a thing when the Bible was written. It's a really new way of doing relationships. Back then, people got married really young, like right after puberty. Most marriages were arranged by people's parents, and there weren't dating apps yet, right? So the Bible doesn't really have anything to say about dating specifically. But Jesus, he gave us so much guiding advice. Okay, there's a passage that I want to look at tonight. And so if you have a Bible on your phone, go with me to Matthew 22. Matthew 22, and if you do not have one, try and get close to someone who does, because I want each of us to see this together. Matthew 22. And it goes like this. 36. Teacher. Matthew 22:36, it says this, Teacher, which is the most important commandment in the law of Moses? That's the Old Testament. So, in everything all summed up, what's the most important commandment? Jesus replied, you must love the Lord your God with all of your heart, all your soul, all your mind. This is the first and greatest commandment. A second is equally important. Love your neighbor as yourself. The entire law and all the demands of the prophets are based on these two commandments. So, at first glance, I know this passage has nothing to do with dating. It's not like Jesus said the greatest commandment is to wait until you're 16 to date, and also don't have sex before marriage, right? That's not a quote from Jesus. He did not say that, okay? But hang with me, okay? I think you're going to see that this passage actually has everything to do with dating. In this conversation, Jesus said that loving God is the most important thing you can do. But then he follows it up by explaining that loving God is connected to loving people. I think it's safe to assume that Jesus was talking about all people, including the people that we choose to date and marry. And so before we go any further in this conversation about love and relationships with people, I think we need to start where Jesus started, with the most important kind of love and relationship there is. Let's start with our love for and relationship with the God who created us. If we don't first love God well, we will never be able to love people or date them well. So we've got to get the order right, okay? God first, people second. We never flip them. Love both with everything you got. Deal? Okay, that's first. Okay, and I think the Bible has some other helpful things to say to us about relationships. God exists in community. Let's go to the first one. God exists in community. He said in Genesis 1, let us make human beings in our image to be like us. This is big brain stuff, but God has always existed as one God in three persons, the Trinity, Father, Son, and Holy Spirit. We don't have time to dig into this tonight, but it's something you should really read up on and learn about. God is a relational God. He has been in relationship with himself for all of eternity. All of eternity. He has loved himself for all of eternity. Father, Son, and Holy Spirit. God exists in community. Second, God made us to exist in community. Then the Lord God said, "It is not good for the man to be alone. I will make a helper who is just right for him." God made us just like him. We were created in his image, designed to reflect him and have his character. He's relational, and so he made us relational. Number 3, God made us to exist in community with him. John 15:9, "I have loved you, even as the Father has loved me. Remain in my love." We are created like puzzle pieces with God. We are made to be connected to him. Sometimes we make the mistake of ignoring this part of our design. We try to fill the needs in our hearts with a relationship with a person rather than a relationship with our Creator. We're designed to crave relationships with other people. But a relationship with Jesus, with your Creator, is the first and primary way to satisfy your need for connection. Then we let all other relationships flow from there. So God exists in community. He made us to exist in community like he does, and he made us to exist in community with him, first and foremost. And so, to say it more straightforward, staying close to Jesus makes every relationship better. It's how you were made. Okay, I'm going to give you a few statements to think about. And I want you to take a picture on your phone of these, okay, as they come up. And I want you to think through later. Do I agree? Do I disagree? Or am I not sure? Okay? And I'm going to do this. I am going to post those on our story. I'm going to post these questions. And I want you all tonight, I would love for you to get on and just give me an agree, a disagree, or I'm not sure. Does that sound good? So check our story tonight. I'm going to put these on there. Can you pull the first one up? We got it? If you're hoping a guy or girl will satisfy your loneliness, then you will always feel alone. Do you agree, disagree, or are you not sure? If you're hoping a guy or girl will fulfill your loneliness, then you will always feel alone, even when you get married. Number 2. Everybody got it? Number 2. If you're not at peace in your life and with God without a boyfriend or girlfriend, then you won't be at peace if you have one. Uh-oh. If you're not at peace in your life and with God without a relationship, then you won't be when you get one. Okay? You can take a picture of that one as well. Number 3, if you want a great dating relationship, then you first got to be okay with not having one. Ooh. Coming in hot. If you want a great dating relationship, then you first got to be okay with not having one. I can give you all my personal opinions about dating and relationship, but I don't think it's going to be the most helpful for you. I believe the best questions lead us to the best answers. So I've got 3 questions, okay? I've got 3 questions for you that I would encourage you to ask and talk about with your friends, with your parents, with your small group. Number 1, is this the right time for me to date? Am I old enough? Is it the right time in my life? Do I have the time or the room in my life to date? Do I have other important relationships or other important things that I need to focus on, like family relationships or friendships or my relationship with God, school, a job? At this moment, do I believe I can make wise dating decisions that honor Jesus? The answer to all of those may be yes. You need to examine for yourself honestly. Number 2, do I want to date? Do I even want to date? Not just not be alone, but is that actually how I want to spend my time, day in and day out? Because having a boyfriend or girlfriend takes time, y'all. The world we live in makes dating seem mandatory. Like if you don't have a boyfriend or a girlfriend, or you haven't checked certain things off your relationship to-do list, that you're missing something. But I'm here to tell you that's not true. There is nothing wrong with not wanting to date right now. Do you hear that? Everyone that's whispering, look at me. There is nothing wrong with not wanting to date right now. Deal? Where are we at? What if you and your crew, what if you and your friends said, we are going to be an amazing friend group who loves each other really well, who loves and serves each other, who loves others, and just has a blast in middle school and high school? Like, what if that happened? And you weren't obsessed with finding a boyfriend or girlfriend? Last question. How will I know when I'm ready? I'm not sure there's one answer to this, but here are a few thoughts, if you want to write them down. These are like the real deal thoughts, okay? If you're okay with not dating, then you're ready to date. You could be. If you're clear on what your boundaries are and which boundaries you will not cross, you might be ready to date. If you're prepared to say no, if someone pushes you, wants to push you past those boundaries, you might be ready to date. If you're prepared to handle a breakup and not lose your stuff, like, you might be ready to date. But here's the most important one. If you already have a healthy and growing relationship with Jesus, you might be ready to date. So if you showed up tonight because you wanted some clear guidelines and a little instruction manual, I'm sorry I disappointed you. This subject could be unclear and confusing, but I hope the next few weeks and tonight even can give you some clarity around these things. This week, though, there's one thing I hope I made really, really clear. It's that loving others well starts with loving God. Okay? So staying close to Jesus makes every relationship better. Staying close to Jesus makes every relationship better. Let me pray for you. Father, I pray over these students, and I pray that you would bless them. Father, I pray that you would give them wisdom and guidance in their relationships. Love you.